This is a 2017 Honda Civic LX. So starting off in the back trunk, you do have a backup camera. In order to access the back trunk, you do have a button on your key fob to open. Ooh. Looks like somebody's been carrying some bodies around here. You do have exposed hinges, so be careful with your valuables. You do have a safety pin up here in case you do have passengers in the trunk and they want to get out. The trunk is pretty wide. It's not very deep, but it's wide enough. And then you have a thin material that covers your spare tire. And you can fold down the seats via just this one lever right here. And you do have a trunk light. Pull this lever right here. And then the seats does come straight down. As you can see here, the seats does not fold down completely flat, but it does open up a little bit of room in case you need to haul anything longer. I do like the taillights on the Honda Civics, especially at night, because they do glow very nicely. And now coming to the driver's side, you also find your driver gas lid, and you also have a capless gas lid. So this gas lid comes with Honda's Smart Key technology. If you were to lock the car, the gas lid won't open, but if you unlock the car, you can pop open the gas lid just like that. Pretty neat feature. On the LX trims, you do get steel wheels along with your hubcaps. And now let's take a look at the rear passenger seats. Take a look at the door material. You do have hard touch plastic almost everywhere except for your armrest right here. It is slightly padded, but it's still fairly hard once you press down. And now coming down here to the storage compartment, as you can see, you can put drinks down here. And then take a look inside at the rear passenger space. Take a look at the step-in height here. It's fairly low. And it seems like there is quite a bit of space here. There's quite a bit of cushion back here. And you don't have a center armrest for your rear passengers, but you can seat 3 back here. And now let's get inside. You do have to duck your head a little bit because of this arch right here whenever you are coming in. Now just sitting inside the Honda Civic sedan. It does feel pretty roomy once you get inside. As you can see here, there's no storage compartment in the back. And there are also no charging ports also. But the seats do feel very comfortable. The fabric feels nice. And you do have a small hump right here, but it's not too bad. And now let's see how it is to try to get out of this car. As you can see, you are going to have to use some sort of aid to help you step out, but it's not that much of a hassle getting out and in. Now let's take a look at the front passenger seat. See here, you still have, well, you have a softer rubberized material up here. And then you still have the same materials that we found in the rear. And you also have a nice compartment here to put your water bottle and your speakers. Both the passenger and driver seats are manually adjusted. And then down here, as you can see, the hidden compartment there where you find your USB and power outlet connections. Now let's get inside. Getting inside the front passenger seat is actually a whole lot easier than trying to get into the rear seats. Now let's take a look. You do have a unlockable glove box, fairly decent size. And then you do have softer material in the dash, and in the middle you do have like a fake aluminum trim right here in the middle. Now let's take a look. You do have a vanity mirror. These visors do extend fairly good. And then coming up here, you do have your dome light. No sunroof. And here, as you can see, you do have an infotainment system that is directly in the middle. Since this is the LX model, you do have a simple screen. It's the smallest screen, but you do get a backup camera. And all the buttons here and labels are very, very minimal. Easy to read, easy to use. Then coming down here, you do have your automatic single zone climate control. Coming down here, you do have some space down here to put your phone and other things. And here is your CVT transmission shifter. And on the right side, you find your econ button, as well as your fancy brake code and your electronic parking brake. And now coming to the center console here, you do have this gigantic storage area where you can use it as a cup holder. You also have an armrest here that is fairly padded. You can fold that up if you like. You have another tiny storage right there. As you can see here, once you open up the center console, you have a really, really deep storage system. And this armrest here, center armrest, actually slides back and forth. So for the driver and passenger, you won't have a problem finding the armrest. And one more thing, all your charging ports are down here, but you can run your wires up here and it'll come out. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's actually a pass-in way here where you could put all your cords out and just kind of tie them down here, and they'll be pretty stable. That way all your wires are not showing and they're not all over the place. Honda does make this a little inconvenient, but at the same time pretty ingenious too. Now, sitting in the passenger seat, you don't have a lever to adjust your height. The only way you could actually adjust your height is to move your seat all the way up. But even then, you still feel like you're sitting fairly low in the car. As you can see here, from my point of view, you can't even see the top of the hood. You can't even see the hood at all. The dash up here is actually pretty high up, so you do feel like you're sitting inside fairly low. Now let's get out. Getting out of the passenger side is actually really easy. You just put your feet out. You are going to have to use this bolster right here to give you some leverage. But other than that, it's actually a lot easier getting out in the front than it is in the rear. And now let's get to the driver's side. Taking a look at the material, you do have soft touch up here, fake aluminum trim, the same hard touch plastic. And then you do have a trunk button right here, as well as your window switches, lock, and your side mirror controls. Over here, you do see that your driver's seat is manually operated. Now let's take a look at the foot controls. And there you find your hood release. And coming up here, you do have your TPMS button, as well as your traction control. Getting into the driver's seat is actually probably the easiest out of all four corners. And just taking a look at the steering wheel, you do have this rubberized material that feels almost as grippy as if you had leather wrapped steering wheel. The material feels nice. It's pretty soft. And then you do have a nice layout for your audio controls, your hands-free phone controls, as well as your voice command. And onto the right side, you do have your cruise control. Now let's take a look at the stocks. You do have an automatic headlight feature, and then your windshield wiper stock. This armrest is actually pretty accessible to almost everybody. You don't have to roll the seats all the way back to use that feature, because this armrest does slide back and forth. Makes it very practical and convenient for drivers of all sizes. Sitting here in the driver's seat, you do feel like you're sitting a little bit lower compared to typical SUV, hatchback. Actually, I feel like you do sit just as low as you would in another sports car. It does feel pretty low. Let's take a look. Your visors do have a vanity mirror, but no lights. And the visor does extend fairly well. It actually covers almost the whole distance, which is nice. Now, let's take a look at the instrument cluster. As you can see here, is very, very simple layout. You have your water temperature bar over here on the left, and then you got your gas gauge on the right, and in the middle is where you find your miles, your trip, your miles per gallon, and also you have your tach, and you also have a digital speedometer. Very nice. It's also outside temperature. Can't find the time in here, but oh, never mind. See here, you do see the time only in the infotainment system. And then down here, as you can see, you do have automatic climate control. And then over here on the right is where you control the fan speed. And then everything else in the middle here controls your vent settings. Very simple layout. Very clean. And now let's take a look at the engine bay. Taking a look underneath the hood of the Honda Civic LX. Fairly small engine. Pretty compact. Okay, so let's get this Honda Civic on the road. Right off the bat, I did do some adjustments to my seat, because before I did feel like I was sitting a little too low in this car. And so once you get the seat adjusted to your comfort and to your liking, you will start getting used to this setup right here where your dash is a little higher. But once you get your seat adjusted, it does become a little bit more comfortable to your liking. And also, this is a sedan, so you do have that thick pillar back there, which does ruin your visibility, and the back there is lifted up too, so it actually makes it just a little bit more inconvenient looking to the back. But overall, the side windows are long. They're not tall, but they're long enough for you to see out. And then visibility to your left, it's also fairly decent. This is the CVT. Right off the bat, I'm feeling like this car feels like it's a little heavy, but it's like stable heavy. And the throttle response is fairly responsive. You do get a really nice tone from the engine. Even though it's mated with the CVT, you do get a fairly nice tone. I'm kind of surprised. Even though this is a 4-cylinder, you do get a better noise from the engine than you do on the Honda Fit. And the transmission on this Honda Civic is actually, right off the bat, a better setup than the one you get in the Honda Fit. I feel like in the Honda Fit, you kind of get like a downgraded system, CVT system, because on this Honda Civic, even though you do get more horsepower, it just feels more sturdy. The CVT, the way that the power is being transferred, it feels very robust for a CVT. And now when it comes to noise levels, you do get a little bit of tire noise, but overall it's actually fairly muted in here. And I've only been driving this car for 2 minutes, and I have accustomed myself to this line of sight. You get used to the setup in this car fairly fast. And taking these curves, you do have pretty decent side bolsters in this car. So taking curves, you are actually pretty well supported by these seats. There is a little bit of body roll, but it's not excessive. I would say handling on this Honda Civic is definitely a step higher than the Honda Fit. And the turning, it's actually very, very good. It's light, but it turns in really fast. And one thing I want to talk about is these brakes, man. Like, you step on it just a tiny bit, and you feel like the whole car is going to come to an emergency brake. It's just so sensitive. Yeah, the brakes on this Honda Civic is far better than the ones you get on the Honda Fit. Acceleration is very, very smooth. Paired with the ultra sensitive braking power of this car, you got a very, very nice setup for an everyday drive. I'll tell you what, driving this Honda Civic makes you want to drive fast compared to when I was driving the Honda Fit. This Honda Civic just makes you want to go fast. Throttle response is good, acceleration is good, braking power is super boosted, and the seat so far is very comfortable. It's got a lot of support and cushioning. You have a really nice instrument cluster set up too, very easy to read. Oh man, the brake feel, it's over boosted. And turning in this car is actually really, really good. It's actually really precise. And when you turn, you feel like you have a lot of grip. Even with the slight body roll, you still get a very nice turn-in feel, which is really good for new drivers. As you can see here, man, I just feel like I can drive the Honda Civic a whole lot faster and with more confidence than I would with the Honda Fit. But the Honda Fit is unique in its own way. But overall, I feel like if you want to drive, and you want to drive sporty, but at the same time have the comfort, not so much the visibility, or the storage as the Honda Fit, I would go with the Honda Civic for the handling. But for practicality and visibility, I would go with the Honda Fit all day. But driving feel, the Honda Civic wins in that category. Brakes feel so over boosted, and it's actually quite nice once you get used to it. Visibility is good. Let's do a little acceleration here. Woo! Acceleration is good. Now, in the LX trim, you don't get any paddle shifters. So if you want more out of the engine, you're gonna have to put it in the S mode, which is the sport mode. And that basically just keeps the revs higher. This CVT is nice. This car feels so stable. All right, let's test out the turning radius. Oh man, the turning radius in this Honda Civic is actually really nice. Oh wow. So turning radius is really good. CVT response is really good. It shifts really nice. It's really smooth. You get a really nice engine note from this engine in the Honda Civic. Now I believe there is a turbo version of this engine, but you would have to go up the trims in order to get that engine. Acceleration is smooth enough to the point that you can't feel the shift transitions from the CVT. In the Honda Fit, you do feel those shift transitions from the CVT, but in the Honda Civic, here, the CVT is actually a whole lot smoother. This engine does have enough power for you to accelerate and to pass on the highway, because here I was not paying attention to the speedometer and I was already going 57, but I felt like I was going 45. So that sort of tells you how smooth this engine paired with the CVT is. It's actually really remarkable. And this is probably why, along with the price point, this is probably why the Honda Civic is Honda's best-selling car. I'm gonna take it through these corners. You do have really nice bolstering here, so even on these really twisty corners, you get really nice support from these bolsters. You don't feel like you're rolling around at all. Or should I say, sliding around. And you have decent power to accelerate out of the corner too. So, another thing I want to give to the Honda Civic is its handling. It has very good handling for the car of this price point. It's actually quite surprising. Now for me, I'm more of a hatchback guy because I like all the visibility I can get. And I've transitioned away from the sedans due to the thick pillar back there, because I really have a hard time trying to see back there. But in the hatchbacks, it's so much easier in the hatchbacks. And one thing, guys, if you guys are gonna daily drive this Honda Civic, I just want to give you guys a heads up that you guys are in for a wonderful treat, because these seats are so comfortable. It's got the right amount of support. Like, I don't feel like I'm hunched over, or I don't feel like my back is in this position. I feel like it's straight. It actually supports my spine, and it doesn't make me curve at all. It doesn't make me do this. It actually just conforms to my body very, very well. Even though these bolsters, they do feel like they're coming in just a little bit tighter than most crossovers and bigger cars. It fits a guy of my caliber very well. I'm not too big and I'm not too skinny either, so I feel like if you have my body type, you will truly enjoy these seats very much. And right now, I'm averaging 42 miles per gallon. That's actually quite a bit more than what I was averaging in the Honda Fit. You know, that's funny because the Honda Fit is supposed to be more economical, but this Honda Civic is, right now, it's getting 43 miles per gallon. So this engine, even with more power, you also get very good fuel economy out of it. Now, if I was to get me another sedan, I think it would have to be the Honda Civic. I like the steering wheel. Everything is just really nicely placed, simple. You got your cruise control, you got audio controls. And you do have these nice rubberized material for you to grip on, and it just feels really good. It's actually really soft. You can actually squeeze it. It's just really nice to hold. The Honda Civic, it's really a well-planted car for the money.